advantages of being the last speaker is that everybody's already said everything that I wanted to say. But I kind of knew that would happen, so I can zip through this real quickly. But I decided to call my presentation 7 Reasons Your Team Will Fail. Now that's kind of a negative thing to say, isn't it? But you got to know what to avoid if you're going to be successful. So, number 1, you're not willing to let go. You all know that the best way to succeed and to duplicate yourself is to delegate, right? But I know from personal experience, it is the hardest thing to learn. My natural instinct is not to delegate. In fact, I don't think I'm good at it yet, but I'm learning how to be good at it. By the time I retire in the next 10, 12 years, and I'm 63, I'm going to get good at it. So this is Richard Branson. He says, if you really want to grow as an entrepreneur, you've got to learn to delegate. So what does it mean to delegate? Don't look for perfection. I had the hardest time when I started working with a team. Now, just so you'll know some of my background, I was a fairly successful real estate agent before I became a broker owner, and even during the time I was a broker owner. I kind of stepped back during the Great Recession. I stepped back from sales so that I could concentrate on my agents and working with my agents and helping them. But I've been delegating or trying to delegate for a long time, and I know the process of delegation. My background is as a journalist, so I had to always give my writing to somebody else to edit and to perfect, and it was really hard for me to do that too, by the way, because I have an ego. Does anybody believe that? I have an ego. But just because somebody doesn't do it the way you do, doesn't mean that they're doing it wrong. I used to take things that were written for me or that were marketing pieces for me, and I would rework them. I would redo them because, after all, it wasn't the way I would do it. And I wanted it to be exactly the way I would do it, right? I mean, how many of you feel that way? I want to have it the exact same way that I would do it, except that nobody's going to do it exactly the same way that you would. I love this. I'm not really a control freak, but let me show you how to do it the right way. It will get done. An agent that I used to have that left me and opened up a Keller Williams office, so that kind of tells you, how I feel about him. But this was a long time ago, so it's okay. And I get along very well with most of my Keller Williams competitors. They are, I've accepted them. And if any of you are here from Keller Williams, please don't be offended. I just, the first time that it happened was 20 years ago, and I wasn't happy that he left. But he did teach me 2 things. The first thing that I learned from him is that anything worth doing is let me try this again. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Now, what does that mean? Just do it. Just get it out there. Just put it out. It's better to do something than to do nothing, right? Would anybody disagree with that? Okay? I saw a few heads shake yes, but I'm sure they didn't know.
I agree with you.
Okay. Just let other people do it and trust them. We'll get into that in a second. The next thing is to provide complete instructions. Nobody can read minds. There's no way that anybody that I know of, other than Karnak and the Magnificent or whatever Johnny Carson's thing was, and many of you are too young here to remember that, but nobody knows what's in your mind. If you put those away because they're not helping. If you If you don't tell people fully and completely what you expect of them, how will they know what to do? How will they know how you want it done? How will they know that they're doing it wrong or not in accordance with the way that you want it done? You've got to give them complete instructions. Okay? Stop thinking you're the only one that can do the job. I got bad news for you. You are not the only one that can do a job. You just seriously aren't. You think you're the only one that can do the job? You're really not. The most famous meme in the world, right? The Willy Wonka guy. I found this one and it said, yeah, that's exactly what it should be. The self-deception that goes along with thinking that you're the only one is one of the things that holds us back the most. I remember thinking very clearly, oh, you know what, by the time I tell people how to do it, I'll just as well do it myself. How many of you have felt that way, right? Okay? How many of you have felt nobody can do it as well as I can do it? Right? I mean, I felt that way. I feel that way sometimes. As Liz and Caitlin and Jordan and Shannon well know, I feel that way sometimes, but I am learning to step back and let go of it. George Patton said, don't tell people how to do things, tell them what to do and let them surprise you with the results. And that's what I'm telling you that you need to do. Don't tell people what to do. Don't even tell them how to do it. Or that's not, he didn't say that. Don't tell them how to do it is what I should have said. And you'll be surprised sometimes with the results. My brother was the director of guidance for the Fairfax County school system for many, many, many years. I went to his retirement party a few years ago, and they said, "Rich, what is the secret to your success?" Because he was really successful in his endeavors. And he said, "I hire good people and get out of their way." Anybody know David Ogilvy? As in Ogilvy Mathers, the advertising agency. He is considered the father of modern advertising. He says, hire people who are better than you are and then leave them to get on with it. And that's what you need to do. Okay? Okay, check on progress. I am a believer. Now, I know that I had an employee once that said to me, "You are micromanaging me." Well, by that she meant I would come in and say, "What are you working on?" And she felt like very intimidated by that, right? But Ronald Reagan said, "Trust but verify." And that's what you need to do. You need to trust that it's being done properly, but then make sure that it is being done properly, right? Okay? Okay, and then say thank you. This I will pull my cards out for because I have some statistics here. There was an experiment done by Harvard Business School, and what they did was they asked 100 undergraduates, maybe it was 200. They asked a bunch of undergraduates to help with evaluating a cover letter that was to be sent out supposedly for this new program. And they, very straightforward, we're asking you to do this, send us back the results within 24 hours, okay? Now, here's where it got interesting. Half were sent a follow-up. The follow-up was very simple. We'd like you to participate in another evaluation. Please return the results within 3 days. The other half, which was the experimental half, the first half was a control half, the second half was sent this email instead. Same exact words, except they added, "Thank you so much for participating in our study. We are so grateful." What do you think the results were? 66% responded to that email. 66% responded to the email. less than half of that, 30%, responded to the one that didn't say thank you. And the only difference in the email was, thank you. We are so grateful. Don't leave that out of your delegation. Express gratitude, express it often, and express it sincerely. Please and thank you are still magic words, just in case you were wondering. Okay, number 2. You are not as good as you think. I know that this is not something that you want to hear, but most of you are not as good as you think you are. If I were to ask you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on personality, looks, career, and skills, if you are average, most of you would say, oh, I'm 7 or 8. How many of you thought, that sounds right? Okay? In one experiment, people were asked to rate themselves in 4 areas: looks, intelligence, personality, and career. No one rated themselves less than 7. Nobody rated themselves less than 7. How many of them maybe were not smart enough to even rate on a 2? Or they weren't good looking enough to rate on a 6. But not a single one rated less than 7, and most of them said 8 or 9 across the board. Self-deception, right? In other words, in many areas of our lives, we suck, right? The problem is we don't know that we suck, and in fact, we think we're pretty good at it. And so that's one of the things that you need to overcome. You need to overcome this feeling that I am better than anybody else. We know everybody here is better than everybody else, but still. This is, my last name is Crowley, C-R-O-W-L-E-Y. I pronounce it Crowley. I came to find out that Crowley's dairy is not, part of the family, but still they have this slogan that says, as good as any, better than some. I always thought that was kind of weird. But it kind of makes sense, because what they're saying is, we're as good as anybody else. We're even better than some, but we're not necessarily the best there is. Now, that's not said because people, just kind of imply that, and they laugh at this slogan, but that's the attitude that you need to take. And besides that, it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. So don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about being the best. Just worry about being the best you can be. 3, you hire people because you like them. Worse, you hire people because they're like you. Marty, I bet you don't hire a whole lot of people just on the basis of you like them, do you? No? In fact, Caleb, you don't either, right?
Not anymore.
But see, exactly, not anymore. And I'll bet you anything that your productivity skyrocketed after you hired people on the basis of what do they bring to the team? Not do I like them? I mean, look, you're not hiring a dinner guest, right? You're not hiring a friend. You're just hiring somebody who can do the paperwork or somebody who can relate to other people. I mean, that's what you need to do. The benefits of hiring people that you like or that are like you, it's faster to make decisions because you think similarly. Very easy. It's like, there's less conflict and there's an easier culture fit. That's great. But the dangers of hiring people like you is you create a bobblehead society. Right? Just like that. No conflict means nothing is changing or transforming. And stagnant or dying service levels are due to a lack of new ideas. In other words, your team is going to fail if you hire people solely on the basis of how well do I like them. Okay? Hiring people like you would be like having a football team with 11 quarterbacks and nobody to block or catch the ball. How many of you think that they would make it all the way to the Super Bowl? Not likely. Okay, hire somebody you don't like. I mean, that's what we're doing in the election, right? But they still have to be likable. That lets them out. Your new hire does not have to get along with everybody. Or, excuse me, does need to get along with everybody. Different doesn't mean disagreeable. So I'm not telling you to go out and hire somebody that's a jerk. I'm just telling you to get off I like them. This is so good. I really like them. And they like me, right? You have no systems in place. A solid team needs written goals, written step-by-step procedures, and organizational charts so that they know who's in charge and who they report to, accountability, and a mechanism for review. It's nearly impossible for somebody for a good employee to carry on when everything they need to do their job is in your head. This became really apparent to me about 3 or 4 years ago. And everybody knows that I bought RE/MAX 100 about 1.5 years ago. And if I hadn't had systems in place to allow me to migrate those offices, I bought 6 offices and added them to the 2 that I had. If I hadn't had systems in place, I couldn't have done it. Where we started was, let's look at our typical day. Let's look at everything we do. Let's look at how do we decide what health insurance to get? How do we decide what the employees get? How do we decide this or how do we decide that? And then we wrote it down. If somebody had a task to do, they wrote it down, step by step by step. That's what we did. You need to do the same thing. There needs to be an automatic, when a lead comes in, this is what happens to it. When a contract comes in, this is what happens to it. This is who takes care of it. This is who takes it from start to finish. It needs to be predetermined, preset, and really not negotiable. Okay? You don't have adequate training. And we're almost done here. But what I would recommend is, first of all, that you choose one trainer, one guru, and stick with them for at least a year, but really a little bit longer than that. People go, oh, I like this guy over here, and oh, I like this guy over here, and oh, I'm going to spend money on his system, and oh, I'm going to do that, and then they don't get anything. We had an agent in our office many years ago who's since retired. I called her Oh My God D. Rosenberg. Because every time she saw something, she said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Some of you in my office know, right? Oh my God D. But what was the interesting thing was she bought all of these tapes, she bought all of these systems, and they stayed in the shrink wrap just because she didn't know where to start. She was so busy chasing after this and that and the other that she didn't, and I left it. She retired a few years ago, and don't anybody from my offices over there tell her that I said that. Yeah. Take advantage of your company training. I know that with RE/MAX, Realty Group, RE/MAX 100, we have a lot of good training. We've been developing, we have developed a new agent training program that we're kind of moving beyond a little bit, and we're moving into the next phase, which is going to be additional continuing education. We have something that we're starting in, we've been saying we're going to start for a while, but we're starting the REACT program, which is momentum, for those of you who are a little more tuned into RE/MAX. Go to mastermind groups. Form a mastermind group. In December, I'm going down to where am I going? I'm going to Charlotte, actually. That's why I asked you if you were from Charlotte. I'm going to Charlotte. No, I'm going to Atlanta. Down south. It's all south of St. Mary's County. But I'm getting together with 8 of the brokers of my size from around the country. They're coming from Dallas, they're coming from Eugene, Oregon, they're coming from Denver, Colorado, they're coming from Baltimore, they're coming from all different places. But if you do a mastermind group, you'll get better tuned in to this. What I wanted to do is I wanted to get the people together who have the same issues that I have, so that I could get ideas from them. And you guys can do the same thing. Form your own mastermind groups. Team meetings. You need to have a team meeting at least once a week. And office meetings. I'll get into the next slide because this is, you think training is just for new hires. I will tell you the thing that's a little bit of a problem for me, and I will say that Larry and Richard, you're not part of the problem because you guys come to everything, or one or the other. Well, no, that's just, I'm talking teams. But sometimes people think that because they reach this level of team leader, they don't need to participate in the office meeting. Right? They don't need to learn. You are unfinished. Never stop learning. I am so proud of every one of you here because you came to learn more about how to do the team thing better than you are doing it now. You came to learn from the best of the best. That's the kind of thing that I think you also need to do with your individual offices. Bottom line is, well, no, you don't have a long-term, sorry, I jumped ahead. You don't have a long-term plan to keep talent. How many of you have been so excited about a new agent that's come on, and then a year later, they leave your team, right? Why do you think they left the team? Part of it could be that you didn't have the right compensation package. Would you stay, think about this, would you stay on your team if you were being paid what you're paying them? That's an important question to ask. The other thing is, don't cherry pick the leads that you give out. This same guy, the Keller Williams guy, he taught me two things. It was Joe Charters, just so you guys know. But it was interesting because his attitude was, I don't think that, some team leaders were giving out just the standard, internet leads. Whatever came in, that was it. Joe would give sometimes the best leads that they got. And I said, why are you doing that, Joe? Why aren't you keeping them for yourself? And he says, because everybody has to have a bonus once in a while. Everybody has to have an easy deal once in a while. Why would I give them something that they have to work their butts off while I'm keeping the good things? Makes sense, right? Money is enough to keep a person in a job they like, but it's not enough to keep them in a job they don't like. So your job as team leaders, and team members put some pressure on your team leaders, is to make sure, number one, that they like the job they've got, and number two, that they are making enough money to stay with you. Because the worst thing in the world is turnover on a team, am I right? Two big box stores, right? Big retailers. Walmart, no comments here, but Walmart pays nothing to speak of. And they have turnover and turnover and turnover and turnover. Costco, on the other hand, pays their employees a very good salary. The average Costco employee makes over $40,000. The average Walmart employee makes just under $20,000. Okay? Costco is wildly successful. Of course, so is Walmart. But it's an easier thing for Costco to be successful because they're not constantly turning over their staff. Every time you turn over your staff, you have to retrain. Recognize their achievements. We've been through that. Show appreciation. It's the number one reason that people leave their job is that they do not feel appreciated. Caleb, how many team members have you had leave? Probably not a lot, because I imagine that you show appreciation.
We never lost anyone.
Right. And Marty, I imagine that you have a similar, you've been doing this a lot longer than Caleb has, so you've had some turnover, I'm sure. But I'm sure that you show appreciation. number one reason people leave their jobs is they don't feel appreciated. Okay, final comment. One agent simply cannot be everything to a client at all times unless they've only got one client. Remember that. Your team's not going to fail, partly because I just taught you how not to have it fail, but also because you are demonstrating, and you have demonstrated that you are committed to making your team successful. So I hope that you'll, number one, stick around for the panel discussion. We've got 4 comfy chairs up here. And that you'll take what you've learned and go back and really be successful. Thank you very much.